Good evening and welcome to the HCC Experience. I'm Ed Berger, president of Hutchinson Community College, and it's our pleasure to welcome you to this weekly program where we have a chance to talk to some of the people at Hutchinson Community College and perhaps communicate to the community some of the exciting things that are happening on the campus of Hutchinson Community College. This evening's guest is Carter Fowle. Carter Fowle is our Vice President of Finance at Hutchinson Community College. Carter, why don't you talk a little bit about the responsibilities of a Vice President of Finance, some of the things that are coming your way, and who your basic reports are.
Good evening, Dr. Berger. Thank you. Vice President of Finance and Operations, my overarching function is to take care of the accounting and budgeting for the college. I am responsible for reporting results to the Board of Trustees as well as to the managers and the other vice presidents at the college to make sure that we are within budget. And also part of my function is operations, which is facilities, maintenance of facilities, and as well as the IT department, the computer services department. The bookstore, the college campus store, also reports to me, and we try to do the best job we can to help the core function of the college, which is teaching and learning.
You know, one of the things we have on campus is always looking at physical plant and how we can upgrade and improve physical plant. And certainly this summer, one of the things that we wanted to focus on was the exterior lighting on the campus of Hutchinson Community College, in particular that area to the west of Lockman Hall. That has been accomplished. Kind of talk a little bit about how we went about that and perhaps how it was paid for and what the benefits will be for that program.
The lighting that you're referring to was a continuation of a lighting theme we started approximately 7 years ago throughout the rest of the campus. And we brought that lighting theme around the north side of Lockman Hall and along the west side of Lockman Hall on the Plum Street side. The main driving force, or the main driving reason for that lighting project was constituent and student safety. During the winter months after daylight savings time changes, the campus can get awfully dark beginning around 5:30, and students had made requests that we improve the lighting on campus. So that was the number one reason that we did the project. The secondary reason is that anyone who's seen the project, and I hope most of our constituents will at some point, I think anybody who's seen it would agree that it adds a very nice look to the campus, and it brightens the area up. The way the project was accomplished was that, like all projects of that type, we let bids for the project, and we accepted bids from local contractors. Local contractor did the project, and that meant the funds that paid for that were capital outlay funds.
You know, one of the things that we improved on also was certainly the sidewalks to the north of Lockman Hall, and although it's not quite as visible, certainly it's very much a safety issue on our campus, is to have great walkways where people don't stumble and trip because sidewalks heaving.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. One of the sidewalk on the north side of Lockman Hall that runs parallel with Lockman Hall was the entire sidewalk was replaced because it was it had been expanded over the years to accommodate more traffic and was starting to crack and show its age. The other thing is there was a tree that was in the middle of the sidewalk and had caused a lot of heaving on either side of that tree. So we removed the tree and replaced all of those sidewalks, and as you say, it's not as visible as the lighting project, but very much added safety and improved the looks of that area.
You know, for those people who are a little concerned about us removing a tree, it was a green ash tree. It was pretty brittle and was looked kind of rugged. We'd had some damage to that tree with ice and all, so it wasn't as though it was an oak or any kind of landmark tree on campus. It was a tree that brought birds in right in front of the Lockman Hall, and also had leaves and trash blowing in Lockman Hall as well. So there are many reasons to remove it, as well as the heaving.
Yeah, absolutely. The number one reason was that, as I said earlier, sidewalks and trees just don't go together a lot of the time. And while we are very much hesitant to remove any trees on campus. This was one time when it was a decision that made sense to do.
Carter, we have a couple of projects that are on the books and perhaps moving forward. One of them is the Quest Center. And as I think most of our viewers understand, we bought the Quest Center, the college bought the Quest Center about a year ago. And now we're in the process of looking at a renovation to the Quest Center for allied health programming. Kind of talk a little bit about what some of that renovation will entail and who will be located in that facility, and the timeline for getting the bids back, as well as having bid approval by the Board of Trustees.
Well, we'll start with some of the renovations. The Quest Center is located on Main Street, and so it's the college's desire to make that exterior of that building appropriate for that area. It's been the exterior right now is kind of dated and tired. So the first thing we're going to do is improve the exterior by replacing windows, going to a more energy efficient windows. We will try to potentially put in some sun shading systems for the windows that will do both. Will do two things. It will cut down energy use, and it'll also make it much more appealing from an architectural standpoint. We will use some steel panels on the outside to give it a similar look to some of the buildings on campus. So the exterior changes for the local citizens and constituents will be the most apparent. But as well as that, inside the building, we're going to completely renovate the interior space. We're going to improve it so that we can put 4 different programs in there. We currently have physical therapy assistant in there, but we're going to improve that space and they will remain in that building. Surgical tech will be in that building, as will respiratory tech and HIT, which is health information technologies, the kind of the medical records program that we have on college, on the college programs. The interior will be general purpose classrooms, as well as some labs for that area. The bid process is very similar to what we did in the lighting project. We will go through a formal bidding process with general contractors who will be responsible for the entire project. We are expecting to have bids back by the Tuesday before the board meeting, which will be October the bids will be back on October the 9th, and then the board will have the opportunity to review those bids and determine if the bids fit within the budget the college has established for that project.
The addition of the Quest Center is important, certainly in part because of its geographical location, being right adjacent to Davis Hall. And for those people who are familiar with the campus, it's 9th and Walnut. And of course, this is 9th and Main, so it makes a good tie-in between those two facilities. And certainly we'll have some of the same faculty working in both buildings. That's
true, and those two facilities combined will house the college's allied health center of excellence. In the Davis Hall building, nursing, our ADN nursing program will stay there, as well as our radiology technician program will stay there. So those two buildings being adjacent to one another and the property being contiguous was a large benefit to the college. And again, it allows us to, as you say, have faculty move back and forth between those two facilities, share equipment, share resources between those two facilities. Question always comes up about parking, and certainly parking is always an issue for a college campus, and there is some additional parking with the Davis Hall with the Quest Center property. We have parking immediately to the north of the Quest Center, as well as immediately to the east of the Quest Center. That's correct. The parking lot to the north is across 9th Street. And it will accommodate probably 18 cars. The parking lot that is directly adjacent to the Quest Center will probably accommodate in the neighborhood of 16 cars, and as well as there is other parking, off-street parking down in that area that our students can use. And there's also some
on-street parking, certainly along Main Street, but over on 8th Street as well. There's quite a bit of angle parking all along that area that's immediately south of Davis Hall, which is within a block of both of those buildings.
That's correct. It's the, for people familiar with the area, there is angled parking on 8th Street that is directly adjacent to that open lot.
Now, most of those people familiar with the Quest Center might have a question about where the tenants are and if the tenants are still there and if there's any move to accommodate tenants in that building.
The tenants that were in the building were notified that the building was going to be utilized for college space. They were given plenty of notice and asked to relocate, and all of the tenants, with the exception of a couple tenants in the upstairs part of the building that's not going to be renovated this time, have moved. The major tenant in that building was the Quest Center itself, and the Quest Center will continue to be located in that building at that location. With an agreement with the college, there will be space available to the Quest Center so that they can continue to carry on their business of being a local business incubator.
Yeah, one of the things that, again, our people who are familiar with that building will know there's a second floor, and we, at this time, don't have a plan to renovate that building. That's kind of another phase as far as renovation on this project.
That is correct. The space in the upstairs of the Quest Center will accommodate the college's needs at this point. There will be, at some point in the future, there will be a study made and a decision made by the college of whether it makes sense for us to renovate it, and if we renovate it, for what purpose. But at this point, there's one large classroom up there that will be utilized, but probably only 4 to 6 times a year.
You know, it's kind of nice to have that space to grow into. We can take care of our immediate needs with this renovation, and then have a phase 2 down the line if there's a need for that. You have those options for growth. I think it's always important for a program.
It is always important to have that option. And again, as the allied health careers grow and the allied health field expands, I think that's an area for growth, not only for Hutchinson Community College, but for the economy in general. And this additional space, or this space that will not be renovated at this point, will allow us in the future to accommodate that growth.
You know, some of our viewers might be familiar with our programs, but certainly these are all high-demand programs. Health Information Technology in particular has a national constituency with an online enrollment process as well as a face-to-face enrollment. And with the changes coming down the line with healthcare and moving all of our healthcare records to electronics, it really has been a huge, placed a huge demand on that program.
Yes, it has. Yes, it has, Dr. Berger. It's the American Healthcare Affordability Act, one of the provisions of it is that healthcare records become electronic, and this program is very much geared towards that. This is one of those programs that, as you said, is completely online, and so it can attract a national constituency of people who can not relocate to take the course, and it will also offer a very good career path for many folks who might otherwise not be able to participate in higher education.
You know, some of the things we look at, of course, is where the Health Information Technology program is now, and it's on main campus in the Office Technology building. Initially, it was over in Davis Hall too, but it just became too big to stay in Davis Hall, so we shifted over to main campus, and we'd like to have all of our programs together as much as possible, much as we've done in the science building. So you have all of your allied health programs together. This will facilitate that happening.
Yes, it will. There's the when you can have similar programs together, you have the opportunity to utilize resources collaboratively, and you just gain some synergies between programs that will, in the profession, especially in the allied health profession, will normally work together. So if they can train together, it'll add a benefit to that. And
Surge Tech is in the basement of Davis Hall, and certainly that is not ideal space for a program like that. We don't have an elevator to get to that lower level. In that program, we don't have handicapped accessibility issues because there's a very stringent physical requirement for people to go into Surge Tech. So that isn't much of a barrier there, but we could certainly have a faculty person at some time or another who would need to have access, and there's no access there.
That is correct. Moving the Surge Tech out of that basement over to the Quest Center, we'll put it on the ground level floor, and the Quest Center, as we renovate it, will be completely ADA compliant and handicapped accessible, so that will remove that potential problem, and it will give the Surge Tech program much better space than they currently have.
You know, one of the vehicles we're looking at funding some of this certainly is capital outlay money, and we also have a unique program, a tax credit program, that people can make a contribution to the tax credit program. We can use it for deferred maintenance, and certainly the Quest Center project would qualify for that deferred maintenance. That
is correct, Dr. Berger. The deferred maintenance tax credit program, is a program that was put in by the state 5 years ago. And what it allows a donor to do is to donate money to the college, and for that donation they can get a 60% tax credit against their Kansas state income taxes. It's a unique program in that if they don't have an income tax, a Kansas state income tax liability, it is a refundable credit, meaning that they will get those dollars back from the state, regardless of their tax liability. And not to get too technical, but the 40% that is not a credit can also be taken as a federal charitable contribution. So the entire credit, the entire donation, can be utilized for either the tax credit or a charitable contribution, and they would get an additional reduction in their federal tax liability for that charitable contribution.
I think what's really interesting too is we have a finite number of those tax credits available, and about a third to a half of them have already been spoken for. So if we have a viewer who is interested in making a contribution to this project or any renovation type of project, why, we would encourage them to get us a letter of intent so we can hold those tax credits for you. You don't have to make the contribution until December, but we would certainly like to have you reserve them so we don't oversell, so we don't undersell. Again, this program expires at the end of this year, and I don't think that there seems to be much interest at the state level to continue the program. So encourage people to get after it, make that a decision to take advantage of these very lucrative tax credits.
Absolutely. If someone is interested, they need to contact you, or they can certainly contact me, and I'll put them in touch with you. Give us a letter that says they would like to reserve a certain number of dollars of tax credits, and then come the first part of December, we would ask for the donation. The benefit to them is that we've got them on record of reserving those tax credits, and as you suggest, we don't oversell those credits. We don't make promises we can't keep.
Just looking at that tax credit program, we have really made something of a, I guess, arbitrary rule that we'd like to limit those to contributions of $1,000 or more. That makes it a little easier for us internally to sort through, and I think it makes it a little easier for the donor as well, if they can limit that contribution to nothing less than $1,000. Certainly we've had, most of our contributions have been beyond $1,000, but certainly limit it to nothing less than $1,000.
That would be our preference. There is some paperwork that has to be filled out. The state has to approve it. So for every contribution, we have to actually fill out an online application for the contribution. So we have asked donors to make the donations of $1,000 or more.
This time I think we'll take a short break and hear more about Hutchinson Community College and some of the many programs that are available at Hutchinson Community College. And we'll be back in just a few minutes with Carter File, Vice President of Finance at Hutchinson Community College. Welcome back to the HCC Experience. Tonight's guest is Carter File. Carter is the Vice President of Finance at Hutchinson Community College, and we're talking a little bit about some of the projects that we are working through and pretty much thoroughly discussed the Quest Center and how the Quest Center is going to have a positive impact, we think, on not only the campus but also the community. There's another project that is in the planning stage, and that is the replacement of Cameron Hall. Cameron Hall, of course, is where our fire science program is housed. And again, we have the largest fire science program in Kansas. We certainly think the best fire science program in Kansas. And Cameron Hall was a great location for that facility, that program, for a long time. And now it's probably, the facility is pretty much expired as far as its usefulness. And without making huge, I suppose, improvements to a deteriorating facility, the decision was made to replace it. And so that decision was probably part one. Part two of the decision was where to relocate it. And certainly we looked at a variety of options down on South Campus, and after talking to our coordinator of fire science and also the city officials, we thought it might be a good idea to try to relocate that facility to the east of the city's fire grounds on East 4th Street. Talk a little bit about that program and the process and how we're going to march through those sequence of events, Carter.
Thank you, Dr. Berger. As you suggested, our fire science program is like all of our programs, is the premier fire science program in the state, and it is currently housed on South Campus in Cameron Hall. And that Cameron Hall building is a World War II vintage building, and it was built over 70 years ago. And as you suggested, it has just come to the end of its life cycle. We could certainly put the money into improving it, but at the end of the day, we would still have a very old building that has just been improved up to current standards. So during the planning process of planning a new building for South Campus, or for the fire science building, the suggestion was made that maybe there could be a good collaborative partnership with the city on their fire grounds, and that suggestion and that recommendation was explored. It was explored by yourself and city officials, as well as the chief of the fire department at Hutchinson City and our fire science program director. It has been determined that a very nice partnership and a lot of synergy can be created by putting that building on those fire grounds. It would serve the college's purpose very well, because many of our fire science students are traditional students, and they're housed in the dorms up here. So it will save them a drive of about 28 miles a day, 14 down and 14 back. And it can create a larger facility for regional fire schools that can be held on the weekends when we aren't using the building. So there's just a number of areas where we can partner with the city on it. The process will be that we've identified the location, and we have to work out an agreeable lease agreement with the city, because again, it will be our building on their property. Once that's all been established, then we will have our architects complete their drawings, their construction drawings on the project. We already have preliminary drawings. We know basically or essentially what's going to be in the building, but then the next phase will be to actually do construction drawings and let the project for bids, bid the project, and then probably from groundbreaking to completion, it's probably a 9-month to 1-year project.
Yeah, it's a little shorter time frame for that project than the Quest Center, because we have to work around all of the tenants in the Quest Center, not exterior tenants so much as our own tenants, physical therapy assistant, respiratory therapy, as well as the Quest Center offices themselves. So anytime you have tenants to work around, that's a little bit more difficult. If you're starting from, I guess, shovel-ready property, which is what we would see this as being on city land, why that goes up a little quicker. Looking at a metal building, perhaps with some brick exterior.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're absolutely correct, Dr. Berger. The timeline on the Quest Center is a 1 year from start to finish. This project will be much easier to build because it will be, as you say, it'll be just grade level ground, and we'll be able to go from the ground up. We won't have to move tenants around. We won't have to move classes around. And it will be a pre-engineered steel building that again, that the architects, our current architects, will do the specifications for. But we don't want it to be just to look like a metal shed, so there will be some architectural advantages to it, such as half brick wall on the exterior.
Yeah, we're kind of excited about this partnership that could evolve if we place that fire science building on city property, and that students would have perhaps an expanded type of experience as far as fire science training, some real world experiences as far as able to go out on fires that are a little bit more complex than something just staged. They've also talked about perhaps some of our students actually residing in firehouses so they get a better sense as to what the life is. And of course, the bottom line is for the city of Hutchinson, it gives you a great source of firefighters as you try to replace retiring firefighters or firefighters who might be leaving and going someplace else. So it's kind of a win-win. It's a win certainly for our students, and we think it's a great win for the city as well.
Absolutely. The key word here is partnership. It's a partnership between Hutchinson Community College and the city. As you suggested, the city will have a pool of ready-made candidates for any positions they may have open. It gives us an opportunity to share resources. One of the resources that Hutchinson Community College will bring is what are called props, and those are devices that simulate fires. And the Hutchinson Community College will bring those props to the fire grounds at the city fire area, and so we'll be able to utilize those resources collaboratively and in partnership. So I think absolutely it's win-win. It gives us the ability to stretch both programs and to do things that we might not otherwise be able to do apart.
Carter, very nice to have you as a guest on the HCC Experience this evening, and certainly wonderful to get an update on the activities that are going on at Hutchinson Community College, the construction projects, and certainly some of the funding for those. And again, we'd ask our viewers, we'd appreciate our viewers being able to tune in and getting the HCC update, but also if you have an interest in being a part of any of the programs at Hutchinson Community College, give us a call, 665-3500. Also, if you'd like to make a contribution to the Quest Center and its renovation with a tax credit, just call my office, 665-3506. Once again, I'm Ed Berger, president of Hutchinson Community College. It's wonderful having you join us for the HCC Experience.